Welcome to another episode of Educating Homebuyers, the podcast. I'm your host, Brady Hay, and my mortgage team has over 9 years of mortgage experience here in Des Moines, Iowa. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, investing, or simply just curious about the market, this show is all about helping you and future homebuyers feel informed, educated, and comfortable as you take your next step. Each week, I sit down with real estate professionals, past clients, and local experts to unpack real stories, real advice, and what you actually need to know when buying a home today. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Most real estate agents tend to sell homes, but very few actually build a brand that brings the business to them. Today's guest has done exactly that, becoming one of the most recognized names in the Des Moines market through consistency, content, and relationships. With over 20 years of experience and thousands of families helped, he's seen the market evolve, and more importantly, he's evolved with it. So today we're breaking down what's actually working right now in real estate, how to stand out, and what buyers and agents need to know in this market. Tim Scheib, welcome to Educating Homebuyers.
Well, thank you very much.
You betcha. Excited to chat with you, my friend.
Yeah, you too.
So give everybody a background. That's always how I'd like to start these episodes off. Who is Tim Scheib? How'd you get into real estate, and what's that look like for you?
My background, I actually wanted to be a basketball coach and a teacher. And
perfect alignment.
right. And in college, I was like, I don't want to work my whole career for a 10% pay increase.
Got it.
And I was just like, I kind of want to create my own future. And so I got into sales, and I was a salesman for Martin Brothers. I sold food to like restaurants, nursing homes, schools, and did really well with that, but I wasn't in the location I wanted to be.
Okay.
Had another kid on the way and decided, hey, I want to be back in the Des Moines Metro. Moved back to Ankeny in 2004 to start selling homes.
Okay.
And my story is pretty unique. It was, hey, go set up appointments, call for sale by owners. And back then, you look down the street and you see a bunch of signs, and you're like, oh, okay, there's 5 for sale signs and 1 for sale by owner.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I just started calling for sale by owners. And my first week in the business, I think I had 5 to 7 homes under contract.
Wow. How cool is that?
It was awesome. But, when you have a mentor, so like I would call and I would set up an appointment to meet with my mentor. The first 3 or 4 listing appointments, you sit through those, and then the 5th one, you do it yourself.
Sure.
And then from there, it was just off and running.
So give everybody an inside look into one of those initial conversations. You're calling a for sale by owner. First question I guess I have is, do you have a buyer already lined up, or what's your intention with that call? Are you trying to earn the listing? What does that look like?
What I found out really quick was when you call the number, they typically don't answer.
Okay.
And then that becomes really, really easy to get them.
Okay.
The first thing you do is you say, hey, I know you didn't get a chance to call me back until about 5 o'clock. There's 3 other homes for sale on your block. Yeah, I do. Well, if a buyer calls you and you don't answer, the next person they're going to call is
buy the one right next door,
right down the street. And then once they hook up with an agent, they're not coming back. And typically they'd be like, we've kind of had that problem. Why don't we sit down and talk about how we can fix it?
Sure.
The second thing is someone does answer. They're home during the middle of the day. It's like, hey, I'm just looking at the house in the market. Just want to be prepared. Do you mind if I just stop by right now? I'm outside your house. Well, sure. So then you stop by and you just, once you start talking to some,
Just be a human
it's so
being,
much
right?
easier to, like once you get your foot in the door, they meet you.
Take that guard down a little bit.
Yeah. And it worked really, really well.
Yeah. When I think that's, I think the piece that you mentioned there about being, just trying to educate yourself, right? Like it's as simple as like what's out there. I think that's probably underutilized in today's world. Like people just want to people need to, I should say, meaning industry professionals need to want to be an expert in our craft.
Yes.
And do the research. And that's something I've always advocated about your content is you're educating people on what's going on right now, whether it's, average days on market, how many homes sold this week, interest rates, like those are things that you all dive into. And anybody watching this knows that you're probably posting that content, but I think that that's so underutilized. So many people are just like, all right, well, where's my next deal going to come from? Rather than actually being a sponge and adding value to the people that are, whether it's consuming their content or just people they're working with.
Yep. A lot of those new agents, like when they ask me, what do you do? I'm like, I learned this, and I've said this many times, so if you do consume my content, you've probably heard me say it, but it's invaluable. New construction's always there, and it's always vacant.
Sure.
So if you don't have anything to do, go start touring new construction homes. Chad Ireland back in the early mid-2000s, he said, told me to do this.
Yeah.
And so he had 5 builders, one of the top agents. And I'm like, okay, so I would do that. And what I learned is the builders are at the homes.
Sure.
When you walk through the home, they're like, can I help you?
Yeah.
Well, that's your first introduction to that builder. And the more builders you get to know, the better your odds down the road of representing a builder at some point. And like, if you consume my content, a majority of my content in homes is new construction.
Sure.
To the point where people think I only sell new homes.
Sure.
But it's only about 10% of my business.
Got it.
But it's always available to market.
Right.
And so by walking through those homes, constantly knowing, I had one person, my favorite line is, doing something is going to produce results, and it may have nothing to do with what you were doing.
Yep.
The universe always pays you back.
Yeah. So if you walk into a new construction listing, A, it's not your listing. B, you're going to shake hands with somebody that's in there.
Yep.
And even if that doesn't lead to you selling that specific home, they're going to know who you are then, and they're going to know, like, man, that guy, he was wanting to learn, you know?
Exactly.
And I think that's undervalued too, is just knowing, like, what are they building? What's the logistics behind how it's being built?
Yep.
You know, that's a super valuable piece. So
yeah, and I mean, think of it this way, like, there's subs or generals that are inside those houses. You start to meet these people, and I can't tell you how many times. I mean, there's probably 4 builders out there right now I met when they weren't builders.
Sure.
But you walk through the houses, you BS with them a little bit, you get to know them, you need anything, give me a shout. Next thing you know, they're like, hey, I'm thinking about building a house. Would you be interested in talking to me about it? You know, I'm thinking about starting to build rather than working for a builder.
Sure.
And I mean, the relationships it's free. Right? You walk through homes and you learn. I had one time where I was walking through these new houses. Someone randomly calls me and was like, hey, I was looking at this house and I don't know if you know anything about it. And they started, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I literally had just walked through the house.
Was just there.
And I don't, like, that's the universe paying you back.
Yep.
Right. And it was just like crazy, but that instantly gave me credibility with that buyer calling me.
And you have to study it, right? Like, you've got to know, you know, so that when somebody calls you to, you know, have you represent them to whether it's buy or sell, you need to already know kind of what they're going to be experiencing when they're out in the market.
And that research, and like doing that daily research, looking at the hot sheet, looking at how many come on the market, and creating the content gives me the ability to use that information when clients call me.
If they ask that question, like, hey, check out this video I filmed 2 days ago.
Yeah,
you know,
but you know it.
Right.
Because you just did a video on it.
I will tell you, like, my perspective shifted, and I feel like my value to my clients shifted when I really started to learn what impacted interest rates. You know, obviously on the mortgage side, that's a big hot topic, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, when I first started, I've been doing this 10 years. When I first started, I was just like, here's what is available. And I didn't really understand the why.
Right.
You know, and so then I kind of shifted when the market started to increase from a rate standpoint. I had to figure out why that was happening and what impacts that movement. And so now, like, literally every day I am reading articles and reading topics on, like, what's driving that, you know, and I've got a couple of clients right now that are under contract to buy houses, and they're really, really rate sensitive. Like, they really want their rate to improve. Well, granted, this will be posted a few weeks from now, but at this moment, we're kind of in the middle of this Iran conflict, which is impacting things. And because of the articles that I've read, I'm able to kind of coach and advise, like, hey, you know, like, if we figure this war thing out, there's a chance we'll get back some of this, like, negative things that have happened over the last few weeks.
Very quickly.
So but I'm able to coach through that, right? Whereas, like, early career Brady, I would have just been like, hey, here's where we're at.
I hope the rates are going to come down.
You know, and, like, everybody's like, oh yeah, rates are going down. Well, it's very volatile. And I think that's something that's underlooked at, you know, and especially for the average consumer who's not maybe following along with you or I. You know, the news talks about rates in the real estate market maybe twice a year. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. But if you're just watching the news, meaning mainstream media, you're getting real estate updates twice a year at best, right? And guess what? It's always usually when it's either really good or really bad. Those are the only times they really talk about it. And so, you know, at the time of filming, it was probably 2.5 weeks ago when we kind of peaked at the lowest interest rates we'd seen in, 4.5, 5 years-ish, give or take. You know, so everybody got really excited, and it created a bunch of activity, which is awesome. Like, I love being busy right now. But it skewed everybody's perspective because they saw that news article or that news, you know, tagline, thought rates were really good. And then when this war started, we've given a little bit of it back.
And, you know, like, if you pay attention, so here in a couple of weeks, we're going to get a new Fed chair. And understanding what that Fed chair's objective is pretty important. And one of the things I'm pretty sure I heard it came right out of his mouth. He goes, I have a way to fight inflation and drop rates.
Yeah.
Not actually raise the rates to fight inflation. Yeah. And so that's something you got to think about. So that's here in a couple of weeks. If we can wrap up this Iran war here in a couple of weeks, and I know the oil's a big conversation, but if we can control the oil, we're going to start to pay down our debt. And on top of that, the price of oil is going to come down. So you're going to have the cost coming down. Inflation's going to come down. If rates can come down, we're going to be in a really, really good position here.
No doubt
soon.
about it.
And to sit around and wait is a terrible mistake.
You know, another piece that I think that not enough people are talking about is probably 2-ish months ago, they talked about the purchase of those mortgage bonds. The $200 billion of mortgage bonds they talked about. The mortgage bond market, literally the moment Trump tweeted that, reacted immediately. And we saw a ton of improvement. Well, what's funny is that purchase hasn't even happened yet. They've bought some of them. But that's a big driver is like if they come out in the next few weeks or months and they actually make that purchase that he's saying that he wants them to make, we should see even more improvement.
Another nail.
But on the flip side of that too, like there could be economic news that comes out that pushes it the other way.
Correct.
You know, and so that's the thing is like, and the position I've always taken is I think it's super, super important to understand you guys that are listening to this, your goals when it comes to real estate. And knowing that timing the market's practically impossible.
It is.
And so you have to make sure you're working with partners like us. And more importantly, I would tell you if you're not, follow Tim because like daily updates are vital. You know, kind of circling back to that once or twice a year piece with the news. Like you cannot get your real estate information from the news anymore. Follow along for somebody who's staying up to date on this stuff and posting often so that you can get real-time data. But also as a consumer, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, I think it's important to not dive as deep as what you and I probably do into it. Because you don't want to like scare yourself out of it either.
And who has the time? I mean, that's why you rely on us because we're the professionals to give you that advice. I mean, I follow people that like Logan Mana, what I'm sure you know who he is. He's the rate guy. And then there's like 5 other influencers. I watch, YouTube videos every morning of daily updates. And so that's kind of our job to be able to bring that info to them. I have a rate service that I subscribe to that honestly, it's not just once a day. It's probably 5 times a day. I get an email giving me an update on the bond market and kind of where it moves. You know, and something you'll notice if you ever consume my content or if anybody following along with this watches what I post, I don't post rate updates. You know, like there's a lot of banks and places that will post interest rates every day. I don't post that stuff just because I don't think it should impact when somebody makes a decision or not. Correct.
It's important, don't get me wrong, and I want to do everything in my power to get you the best rate I possibly can, and I'm going to do that, but I don't want you to make your decision when you're going to buy real estate based on the market.
Correct. And that's one of my biggest pushes over the last probably 2 years because we've had high rates.
No doubt.
It's like afford the house that you can buy today with the rate that it is today. And then if the rates go down, you only win and you save money. If you refinance, right? If rates go up, guess what? You won because you got a better rate than they are at that current time.
It's funny you say that. I still vividly remember a conversation I was having with a friend of mine. This was probably, it had to have been right after 2020, right? When we were in our crazy low. He was looking at the time, he was looking at a 10-1 ARM, and I vividly remember he was at 4.75. And he's thinking, oh, I don't want to lock that in. That's so high. Like it's just so high, like rates are going to get better. And it genuinely 5-6 years later has still not gotten back to that point. And it's interesting now because he did choose to lock it in and we're now 5 or 6 years in. He's halfway through his ARM term. And so I'm starting to have conversations with him about like, what does that look like over the next 4 to 5 years? Will we ever get back down to that 4%? So I just think, to your point, like the payment is vital when it comes to people's comfort. And that's something that I go over up front. And I'm sure you do with your clients as well, is just make sure you're making an informed decision. And knowing that there's more to, and frankly, there's creative ways to improve the payment too. Like we can get creative on that. And the reality is that owning real estate still makes a ton of sense. It's just structuring it to what you want. So.
Because like if someone asked me today, is now a good time to buy a home? And I'm like, absolutely is. I mean, if you look at the house price, they always go up. I mean, they might dip or stay stagnant, but they always go up. And we're at an 18-month stagnant. I mean, it's been pretty consistent for, actually, I should say probably 3 years. Where, values have gone up a little bit, but not enough to really matter. But when people ask me like, well, what about those, those who have the interest rates that are 3%? They're just not selling, are they? Well, I'm sure as you know, we have more people with rates above 6% than we have less than 3% or 4% right now. But the people who had their home and they refinance into those low rates, they've owned their home now for over 7 years. The people who got those interest rates when they bought, they're 3 or 4 years in. And as we all know, a lot of those were first-time home buyers. You're 3 or 4 in. You might have 1 or 2 kids since then, and you have to move. You don't have
exactly
the room
what
anymore.
I was going to say. Is like people need to understand that it's not the interest rate that's driving whether they're selling or not. When you have a 2-bedroom or even a 3-bedroom home that you bought as a starter home as your first-time home buyer, and you've got 3 kids, or maybe you get a promotion and you need to move, or like there's other life driving factors that causes somebody to move, and you kind of have to sacrifice that rate and let it go.
And we're 4 years in. We're 4
and
years.
We're already noticing it.
Yeah, and I mean 4 years. People live in a house 4 to 5 years. And they're typically moving. Maybe 7 years.
I tell people all the time the average lifespan of a mortgage is 3 to 7 years.
Correct.
One of those 3 things is going to happen. You're going to pay it off, which is pretty rare to be honest, unless you win the lottery,
but whatever.
which is fantastic, right? You are going to refinance to either a better rate or a shorter term. And the most missed conversation that people don't talk about is if you do have equity and you've built equity, you can take cash out, pay off other stuff, do improvements to your home, those kinds of things, or you're going to move, right? And those 3 things are happening every 3 to 7 years regardless. And, you obviously have 20 plus years of experience. I'm now at 10. I've seen that where my past clients are making those transitions. And I don't know what your statistics are, but I'm at 48% of my business is repeat business.
Yeah, my repeat business is probably close to 50 to 60%.
Yeah, which is fantastic. That's the way we want it, right?
So. Majority of my business comes off referral and repeat business, so it's hard for me to really pin that down. But I really, like right now is a time where people are finally just saying, forget it. Yeah. Whatever happens, happens. We need to move.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I talked about this last episode, but I think that something that not enough people talk about is like, in this higher rate environment that we've been seeing for the last 4 years, most first-time home buyers made the decision to rent, right? And they signed these leases. Well, I think the reason why we're seeing so much increased activity right now is because those leases are coming up.
Yeah.
And they were, making that decision 12 months ago when they're like, hey, rates are still high. I'm going to rent for another year until they drop. Well, guess what? That lease is up now.
Yep.
So I think that's playing a role into this increased activity because we haven't seen a drastic market improvement, So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Like, do you have a lot of first-time homebuyer conversations? What do those look like over the last few years?
I do. I've got like a lot of first-time homebuyers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so here's what I look at. When you were, let's say it's 2021, right, and things were haywire, people were going way over list price.
Yep.
You had that person out there. It's like, I'm not paying. I'm not going to get in a battle. I'm not going to buy yet. And then all of a sudden rates jump, and they're like, ugh. And then they're like, I'm not buying yet. These rates are too high.
Yeah.
So not only do you have the people who have been living in their house for 5 to 8 years, and they're like, all right, finally, we got to move. We don't have room.
Right.
We have all those buyers out there that missed out on those low rates and then didn't want to get the high rates, and they're like fed up, and it's time to get out there. So the first-time home buyers, I had 2 first-time home buyers over to the age of 50 this year.
Yeah.
Which is
average age right now, they say is what, 38? Is that what I hear?
38 to 40. Yeah.
That's older than it should be.
Yep. But, and I also I just sold 2 different houses to 22-year-olds, 21-year-olds. So the ability's out there for these guys to buy homes, and the concept of home prices are way too high, rates are way too high, we can't do it. Expectations are too high.
Without a doubt.
In 2020, 2021, the expectation was first-time home buyers were buying new homes. Well,
400 plus
those
thousand.
townhomes are a great option. I mean, if someone bought a townhome in 2020, that townhome's probably worth $20,000 or $30,000 more today.
Right.
So you're still gaining equity in a townhome. And like, I don't want people to not buy a home because they're not getting what they want.
When I think the perspective is skewed of what your first home should be.
Correct.
You get that expensive taste and that desire to have what your parents currently raised you in.
Yep.
And you want that 450
or what your
right away.
Friend bought.
Yeah. Which we're not saying that you can't do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you get straight out of college and you get a great job and and there's options to get into a home with no money out of pocket. Like we can make that happen if that's a hurdle. But it's also understanding that like you might not need a 5-bedroom home as a 22-year-old, a single dude, or whatever it is.
Let's make it work.
To your point, it's managing the expectations, and I think that the American dream per se is really how real estate can help you build that portfolio year over year.
Yep.
And you have, I'm sure you've helped many clients over 20 years buy and sell 3-4 times, and every year you see them put more and more money down. allowing that to become more affordable, right?
Yep. I just had a client, young couple, and they were moving into their first new home. They had, not even really young. I call it young because I'm old now. but they have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And they just bought their first new home, and they were so excited. And he goes, "Have I told you my story?" And I'm like, "No." And he started at the closing table, starts telling me how the first house they bought was this tiny little house, and it was crappy, and they did some remodel, and when they sold it, they ended up making like $40,000.
Wow.
And then they did it again. They fell into another house they bought and needed a lot of work, and it wasn't their dream home, wasn't what they wanted, but they made it work. They sold it, they made $70,000.
Yeah.
So now they had $100,000, and then they just did it again with this house. They have over $100,000 to put down on this brand new home.
Yep.
That they wouldn't have had if they didn't start the journey in something that wasn't what they wanted.
Yep.
So it's like making some sacrifices up front so that you can get what you want in the future by building wealth through real estate.
Within reason, right? And we're not saying you have to go live in a dumpster pile, right? Like you can still find a great home in the starter home price point and kind of sacrifice certain things to make it happen. And more importantly, just working with your team of professionals to put that plan in place, right? I can't stress that enough, that plan is like the most important aspect and the way I do it, and this has been talked about on other episodes before, but how I do it is I rank their goals. So I have them make me a list of every goal they have with their home buying process, whether it's monthly payment, whether it's what you desire in a home, numbers, bedrooms, bathrooms, finishes, location, whatever it is. We rank those by importance. And if you tell me that your monthly payment's the most important to you, guess what we have to sacrifice? A couple of those other things, right? And it's been cool from my perspective to see when we go through that with clients how honestly, a lot of them are all pretty achievable. Like they start to realize and understand that like I can afford this payment and still get the house that I think I want. Like we can really make all of this happen. It's just kind of navigating what does that look like, And I think that I've talked about this on another episode too, but the conversation that's not had enough is this affordability piece isn't just housing related. We need to look at what your entire picture looks like. What else do you have for debt? How big a car do you drive? How much student debt do you have? How much credit cards do you have? Those things play a bigger role into somebody's financial budget than you realize.
That's one of the videos I've made is about that. When I bought my first home, we didn't have 3 cell phone bills. We didn't have the internet that we have to pay for today. We didn't have all the apps that we have to buy today. So like there are so many other things that are eating away that income that we don't realize that is affecting whether or not they can buy a house. So not only are home prices up and interest rates high, but we have all this miscellaneous expenses over here that are crushing us. And we have, and it's like,
and it's a need, right?
You have to have the internet. You have to have,
to have Netflix and Hulu and Prime and all of these subscriptions. And I'm not telling you to sacrifice all those, but again, it's circling back on the priority list, right? And what matters most and how much easier is a $2,500 payment when we eliminate some of that other stuff. Just comes back to that budgeting piece. And I'm speaking to myself, frankly, because we all get into a habit of buying stuff randomly, and you see something shiny and fancy that your friends have, you want it too, right? And the inflation piece that we talked about definitely plays a role in that. There's no doubt that when you go buy groceries for your family, it costs more than what it used to. There's no way to deny that, and obviously feeding your family needs to be a priority, but there's a way to do all of this within reason, and more importantly, we as real estate and industry professionals are just here to help you navigate it. So I love it. What else? Anything else you're seeing in the market that you would advise somebody that they should really look at, or you're still pretty confident in how things are doing?
I feel really good about the real estate market. I mean, inventories, so I say this all the time, inventories, we're under 4,000 homes. In 2006, and you may have heard me say this, but in 2006, we had 6,000 homes for sale in our Des Moines MLS. And that was before, when the market tanked, some of these small communities couldn't make it. So now we have Marshalltown, Knoxville, Newton, Panora, a lot of Ames inside of our MLS, and we still have 2,000 less than we had back then. Which is, I don't think people understand how quickly our inventory will go when this massive group of buyers
gets in the market
gets back in the market. But, we also say, hey, more homes are going to come on the market because now they can move up. Well, that's cool, but that person's also going to take another house off the market. So it's going to be fun. I think this next year is going to be, the rest of this year is going to be fun. And I think 2027, I think everybody's going to prosper in 27. I mean, if we can get this interest rates down, or not interest rate, but inflation down a little bit, which the whole idea behind the oil will hopefully do that. If interest rates come down, then everybody can just kind of open up. The big thing is people's wages, I believe, need to go up.
And it takes time for a lot of these things to happen.
Exactly. It takes longer for wages than inflation.
And I think the other thing that's not talked about enough is this whole inflation thing is like directly correlated to spending. And if people keep spending money on all of this stuff that costs a lot of money,
it's going to cost more money.
Guess what? They're going to keep charging that, right? So when you keep buying these items, like the people that are setting these prices need to kind of feel the pain. Yeah. And so it takes time for all of this dust to settle. And I'm not an economist by any means, so take my advice with a grain of salt. But I just think that you have to be patient with it and, control what you can control. I tell myself that all the time is I can't control the market, and I had to look internally when it comes to my mortgage process when things got worse and retrospectively, the market got harder, there were less people buying. I had to look internally on like, what is something I can do to make sure that people are still calling me to buy houses, right? Yep. And I looked at my process and the experience and this podcast and all these other things I can do to help doing that. I would encourage people listening to this, look at your family in the same light. So if you have aspirations to buy a new car or buy a new house or whatever it is, evaluate those goals and ask yourself, how can we make this a reality?
Yep. And I think that's overlooked a lot by people. It's we all want, but we don't want to do what it takes to get there. And that's part of society today. It's like everybody's, right now, if you were just talking about spending, people buy what they want. They spend. Well, we don't talk about our credit card debt enough. Our credit card debt is off the charts. Yep. And it's because we just keep spending and keep spending and keep spending.
Yep. And it's easy to get away from you.
Yeah. And we haven't really controlled, I hate to say the good old days or back when I was a kid, we didn't have access to money like we do today. And
they'll lend it to you really easily.
Yes. And
I think
it's not healthy.
It's an interesting conversation because, the housing bubble obviously happened in 2008 because of the light lending rules when it comes to mortgages.
Which will never come back.
Correct. I think it's actually pretty interesting how similar it is in other markets, whether it's auto. You can walk into a dealership and buy a car with very minimal questions asked.
Pretty easy, yep.
The story I share often is I went to Homemakers, this was, call it a year ago, and wanted a new furniture set for my living room. Walked in there, they took me over to this computer, and I typed in a bunch of information as far as where I work and how much money I make, and they spit it out and said, go buy 20 grand of furniture if you want. It was that simple.
Yeah.
But no verification, and that's the thing with the housing industry is we're doing our due diligence to make sure these people can afford it. It's a little bit interesting with credit cards and auto loans and student loans. You can take out debt willy-nilly
how many text messages you get a day? You can get this much money. You can get this much money. I get PayPal. You're approved for a PayPal credit card. I have zero.
Buy now, pay later on your burrito.
I have no credit cards.
Yeah.
I don't want them. Why even have the temptation there?
Right. And it's easy. So I'll tell you, I do use a credit card, but I pay it off every single time I get paid.
For the points.
Correct. Yeah. But it's easy. I will tell you that my perspective on budgeting has shifted when I started to use it because I can just use it on there and then I'll wait until my next paycheck hits to pay it off, which is not the right mindset.
Because especially in a commission job, because if that next paycheck is less than what you thought it was going to be, it's going to be tough to pay that off.
Yep. Whereas if I was using that debit card.
And then it builds. And then it builds. And then all of a sudden you're in a hole and you're like, ugh.
Yep. And I feel lucky because I'm in a career where I can, have a great job, make a great living. Obviously, the harder I work, the more money I can make. Those things allow me to live the lifestyle I want. But there's a lot of people that make those same decisions that have a fixed income. And that's something that we need to evaluate and make sure that you're using them sparingly, within your reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Budgeting is more important than ever. So
I'll ask you, as far as your mortgage content, have you seen that, straight up honesty, have you seen that paying off with clients?
Without a doubt. There's two aspects from my perspective, and this is a selfish piece of it. Obviously, clients are seeing my face more often, when it comes to whether it's Instagram or YouTube, or it's giving me a reason to email them every week when a new episode goes live. So from a client standpoint, it might not be as hey, I watched your video and that tip triggered me to want to buy a house.
Yep.
But they're seeing it and they're like, oh, Brady's the mortgage guy, I'm going to call him.
Yep.
So that's where the sphere of influence piece, I've seen a definite uptick. The other avenue that I never imagined when I started this is how cool it is that I get to have fantastic conversations with agents that I didn't normally get to have a conversation with, and the brand recognition. So now if your listing sees my pre-approval, that Brady guy knows what he's talking about. That's a solid approval.
Absolutely.
And so that's where it's two aspects. And obviously, selfishly, every opportunity when I sit down with an agent, I'd love to earn your business, but also that's not my intention either.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm always transparent about is I'm never going to be the guy that's going to follow up with you after your episode and say, hey, send me your next pre-approval. It's just not me.
Right.
Now, I do want the opportunities, right? I'm never going to deny that, but it's I love that this is an authentic way where I can show my heart, show that I care a lot about this industry, but also give an opportunity to give you guys a platform. That's been the coolest part, is like, you do a great job. Most people don't on the content front. So this is a very like low barrier opportunity for an agent to come in, have a conversation, share what makes them different, and give them an opportunity to get in front of their people. Because you and I both know how awesome content is.
At the end of the day, if I've known you for a while, I watch your content, it helps. Like if another agent brings me, you know, an offer and I see it's your pre-approval, I'm like, okay, cool. I know I can communicate with them. I know it'll be good.
Exactly.
And it makes a huge difference. So I've noticed a lot with content over the years. I have mainly used it as like my CRM. Like this is my opportunity to get in front of my clients, to be the face they see all the time. And when I hear agents around the country saying that, I did 30 deals off of Instagram this year, I'm kind of like, did you? You know, like, is it straight off of Instagram? But what I have noticed is I get a number of referrals from my past clients that I haven't talked to for 5 or 6 years.
Do you think that's an Iowa specific thing? Because we're just a close knit group of people. Because I would agree. Like, I would tell you that like this content, when I post it on Instagram, or maybe it gets a bunch of views on TikTok, I don't get a lead from somebody I don't know yet. Anyways, it's, hey, I went to high school with so-and-so. They went to college with you, and I'm buying a house. So it's like this sphere of influence has grown because of my content.
It definitely grows, and then also gives you credibility. So like if John over here referred Sally to me, Sally might search me on Instagram and go, oh, he's got 25,000 followers. Okay, I'll work with him. But I also feel like being in the Midwest, it is a different world. I mean, I've had coaches in different parts of the country, and they're like, oh, no, you should do this. And I'm like, I am not poaching a client from another agent. Not doing it. That's not the way we do it here in the Midwest. But I have felt like I do so much content that people don't call me because they see all my, like, they're like, oh, I can't call him.
Do you think that it's a perspective of like they think you're too busy for them, kind of a thing?
It's a mix between too busy, or it's like, it's weird when people see you on Instagram all the time. They think that you're like famous to some point, that they just don't call you. And that's stupid, because, and I'm not saying that as an ego thing. It's just like, that's what I've experienced.
So out of curiosity, somebody that posts as often as you do, how many hours a week would you say that you commit to content versus your real estate?
Probably 5%.
So you're not spending a ton of, as much as you're pumping out content, and it seems like it's a lot.
It takes me longer to come up with the verbiage and post
than it does to film it.
Than it does to actually film it.
Because I think that perspective is skewed too, because people probably think you're just out in the field filming all day long. And
the main thing is, like, I have conversations with a lender, or I have conversations with a client, and I'm like, that's
somebody else should hear that.
I get off the phone, I shoot it real quick, boom, done. Now, the time that I spend, I don't even consider this content, but like, I have a videographer, and I'll do a home tour. Filming yourself doing your actual job. No, the home tour. Okay. Like a home tour. I walk through a house. That's going to take us a good hour. It's going to take the videographer a lot more time to edit it. So that is an expense. That is a long time. But I don't really consider that content. I consider that marketing. I consider that me trying to sell the property and get in front of people. The content that I put out is like the short videos. Tips. Yes, the short videos, the tips, the insights, the market update at the end of the night when I'm like, I need to do it. I mean, I'm 180 days in a row, or no, 1,180 days. I was going to say, it's longer than that. And has that paid off? I think it has definitely paid off. It's just one of those things where it keeps you in front of people. I have to give you a kudos too. I'll be honest. Like, when you first started your I'm going to post every day thing, first off, kudos to that. But also, like, it motivated me, to be honest with you. Like, I need to post more. I need to do this more often. And I had to figure out a way, and that's where this podcast came in, is like, how can I do that without feeling the intimidation of trying to come up with something new every single day? And that's the hardest battle. Right, is like, what do you film every day? And so this is where it's allowed me to do this. And the podcast is kind of a cheat code from a content standpoint, because, you know, I spend 2 hours a month filming content. Like, I come in and film, 4 30-minute episodes a month. So, like, from that perspective, in kind of circling back to what the client thinks of us, is like, we aren't spending a ton of our time doing this. I would tell you, I spend more time looking at tax returns and pay stubs trying to figure out if somebody qualifies than I do filming. But our hope is, and at least this is, I don't want to put
words in your mouth, but my hope is that people see our content, they see our heart, they see our professionalism, and know that when they want to buy a house or know somebody else that is, give us a call.
And I really like I do stuff that's outside of the real estate business. I want people to know who I am.
Right.
And there's some people that they overthink it. They want it to be perfect. They want to do this. I'm like, I'll do a video with messed up hair.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yep.
If it's in the moment, that's my thing.
When it shows who you are,
I'm going to do it. Right. And like, overcomplicating content is the one thing I tell people never to do. Like when you just said, like, doing this podcast gives me all this content. Cool. But every conversation you have with someone gives you content. You just got to remember it. You just got to constantly be thinking,
that's something somebody else deserves.
Here's a nugget that I want to share with people. Here's a nugget that I want to share with people, because it happens all day long.
Right.
And like, if I wanted to, I could do 20 videos a day.
Right.
But I have work to do, and I want to serve my clients. So
Right.
I don't do 20 videos
Totally
a
get
day.
that. Yeah. And even as something as simple as like you playing basketball with your kid in the backyard, like that can still be content that generates real estate business.
Absolutely.
So, it's kind of diversifying, showing your heart, showing who you are, and showing you're the professional to, to your clients. So,
yeah, I just did a video yesterday. I haven't even posted it. I don't know if I will, but I was talking to somebody about swimming pools. And I was like, well, the best lot for a swimming pool is a flat lot.
Yeah.
I've got a great one right now, but the reason I like a flat lot is because when you walk out of your kitchen, which you spend 90% of your time in your house in, you walk down 2 steps and you're on your pool deck. Most people want this walkout lot. Well, the walkout lot fades away. The pool needs flat ground, so on the back side of it, you got this. Yeah, you got to build it up. But then you also got to go down 20 steps every time you want to go down to your pool.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
Yep.
If you want a pool, look for a flat lot.
Love it.
Plus, you're going to have better water table, so it's not going to mess with the bottom of that pool.
Yeah.
So I like did this video, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to post it, but
I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to.
But it was a conversation I had with somebody that prompted, I'm just going to do this real
Surely
quick.
somebody wants to hear that.
It took me, I think it was a 2-minute and 1-second video.
Yeah.
So that's how long it took me to shoot it.
Yep.
All I need to do is cut the end, cut the beginning, put captions on it, boom, it's out.
I love it. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you for being a resource. Thank you for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to come in and film some content. And
I've been waiting for a while. I'm not going to lie.
I know.
You've been doing this podcast. I'm like, when am I going to get on this
It's been like
thing?
6 months, but it's cool that somebody that's doing content as well as you are gets to recognize it too, and that we're doing it. So
absolutely.
I'm appreciative for you coming in and being a resource, and I'm sure we'll do it again. So for everybody watching, if you want to reach out to Tim for any content tips or real estate tips, I'll be sure to link his information in the link below. If you're finding me selfishly through Tim's awesome network, would love to work with you as well. You can follow me on Instagram, social media. Would love to be a resource. This has been another episode of Educating Homebuyers, and we'll see you guys next time.